laid out flat. The whole thing was laid out flat. You could see every piece, and it was just like this like long flat like water cooled base, like that you just hung on the wall.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well,
I
we're
mean,
live, so
Bill Gates
Hey.
has a wall.
Oh, are we?
yeah,
We're live.
Yeah, we're
I was
live.
just to say, Bill Gates has his walls are television
Gaming
screens
PCs.
and things like that, and he's got
His walls are
speakers.
just gaming PCs.
He's got speakers that are inside of his wall.
I figured it would be ideal if I just did the cold open, and then whatever Huffy was saying, we could just not explain what he was talking about at all.
There's just half of the sentence cut off. Start there.
Yeah. So we're in the 36th episode, blah blah blah. It's not the 36th episode. Yeah, okay, I know. We don't have any guests this week.
Whoa, you just cut our whole skit, bro.
I know.
What the fuck?
Yeah. How are we supposed to know what episode it is, though? Are we 37, right?
Based on the Word document that I attached that says what episode it is.
So whatever episode we decided today, that's what it is.
That's
He's
exactly.
Gonna write 39
so
tomorrow.
Right?
Are we doing a podcast tomorrow?
No, but we start early on these show notes, guys.
Yeah. We start as soon as we hang up the call. We immediately start writing the notes for next week. Yeah. Actually,
yep.
There's no new news. Sometimes we just go on Twitter and start writing things down. It's usually a mistake.
You should see the direct messages we have between each other.
They're pretty brutal. They usually, like, as soon as the thing goes live, we sit here and bitch for a few minutes, and it usually starts with, next week should we do the thing where we argue about what episode it is? And Rex says, I don't know, that's getting old. Next is like, yeah, we need to do it.
Right,
yeah. So we got a patch this week.
Yeah.
Surprise patch, kind of. There's a bunch of stuff in there that they didn't tell us was going to be happening, that they thought they were going to be clever and sneak in there. Nobody will notice, but
it's really good stuff, though.
Yeah.
Well, did we think that there's more surprises in there than they originally? Because for first that they just told us that it was going to be a minor sandbox change, and there was going to be a couple of the highlights, right? And there was only 2 or 3 highlights last week that we had to talk about. And then this week is holy crap, this hip patch is actually huge.
Yeah, I don't know if it's huge. It's not like a huge weapon
sizable.
Sandbox change. It's not like what we got right before Forsaken or anything, but it is it is more than I expected, for sure.
I can't wait to talk about the fact that they did this.
Yeah.
This is great. This is what we asked for. This is what we need.
Right.
Small incremental sandbox changes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Exactly. All right, so let's just start with Malfeasance. Have you guys used it since the patch?
I got it shortly before the patch, so I didn't have a chance to really use it. So my experience with it, I guess I don't have enough experience. It feels fine to me, but I don't have enough experience with it pre-patch to know what it was.
So my impressions pre-patch were that in PvE it was absolutely terrible. No reason to use it whatsoever, even though it did a little bit of extra damage to Taken. Would not recommend as an exotic. Now, it seems to do a lot of damage to Taken. I was using it in the raid, and I was using it during the Riven encounter, since, you got cluster bomb rockets in one, and then you got a shotgun or something, so you might as well just use that as your exotic. So it pretty much one shots any Taken enemy if you hit a critical shot, and any low tier Taken enemy from almost any distance, even though it's a 180. I haven't really used it in Gambit to test the whole invader thing. I'm someone who likes to invade, so playing defense is not, I don't think it's worth using an exotic for that, but as far as the PvE side, I like it a lot better.
Personally, I would never use it in really that. I mean, I think I used it one match, and this is after the change, or maybe it was before the change. But there's better exotics to use, especially like Queenbreaker and.
Oh my god!
I love that gun. I love that gun.
So a small side tangent about Queenbreaker. I was actually raging a little bit because I thought like I was playing against this guy and I was like, holy crap, the aim assist on this thing. Like, so he kills me 3 separate times with the Queenbreaker by hitting me in the head, like really, really far across the map. And I was like, man, this dude with the Queenbreaker, like the aim assist, it must just be nuts. He's not missing, you know, and he's probably pretty good too. So then I matched him 3 times, 3 separate Gambit matches. And I started to notice, oh, he's never missed a headshot. Okay. Oh, he just killed me with a shotgun, and it was a headshot. All right. Yeah. All right. I see where we're going with this.
Okay.
So you know, it's not bad enough to have the 100 aim assist or whatever. You also have to cheat on top of it.
Is it 100 aim assist on that? I'm not sure if it is or isn't.
Max. It has to be max.
Yeah, here
I wouldn't be surprised.
We
if
have
it was
computers.
105. I don't
We
even
have
think
computers,
it's possible.
so
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
It's actually nutty. Like you can shoot somebody in the thigh.
It's only 60.
Headshot.
60 is the hidden stat. Aim assist.
60.
Yeah.
Well, there's a whole bunch of bullet magnetism then on linear fusion rifles because
I bet there is. I bet that's what they because they didn't change actually anything with the sleeper stimulant, although they reduced its aim assist. That's what they did.
You know what's weird? In Destiny 1, it was 90 aim assist. I'm looking at the Destiny 1 perk. And it had hidden hand on it, so.
Well, maybe the thing is that it, like, maybe the perks are giving it things that it's not supposed to. Like, charge time is max, so that's good. 633.
Huh.
I mean, anyone that's used it or played against it can tell you, like,
it's so good.
Like a priori that, like, you don't have to aim for the head.
Not really. Not really. Yeah, I use it all the time, and I'll tell you, you don't have to. You don't have. You won't aim for the feet. If you aim for the feet, you probably won't kill him. But.
I have not used it in Destiny 2, but like because of the kind of kills people have been getting, I just assumed it was similar to Destiny 1. I remember reviewing a lot of footage where people would actually not be aimed onto a person at all. And it would just be like headshot, you know, like, but in Destiny 1, it didn't matter because everyone was still like, yeah, you shouldn't use that because it's basically a sniper rifle. You have to charge up. What's the point, you know?
Yeah, except you don't have to really, like, the charge time is so much faster in Destiny 2. Or it's just so fast.
The difference is that it's a heavy weapon in Destiny 2, pretty much. I think that's the main difference.
Oh, so it was a
special weapon. Yeah.
Special.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why they moved it to heavy, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's fucking bonkers, bro.
Yeah.
That's
why they moved it. This is actually insane.
Yeah, the over the past couple of weeks, over the past 2 weeks, it has went to 15 kill rank to a 32 kill rank. 3 weeks ago, it was 16.8, and now it is 32.1.
Weird.
I'm thinking what's happening is people are getting it, and then people are getting it, and then people are using it. So it's not going to be a problem until everybody has it, and then by the time everybody has it, they'll probably do something about it.
Yeah, I would say that everybody was gonna have it soon, but that exotic patch that they pushed.
Oh my god!
Let's just jump right into that.
Let's jump right into that really quick?
I thought it was working for me because the first exotic I got was a two-tailed fox. Never got the two-tailed fox before, but then I remembered, oh, it's weighting armor above weapons because you're not supposed to get really, like, there's not as many weapons as there are armor. Cool. So I'm like, yeah, it's going. Then today, I got.
We talked about this last week, though. There actually is more weapons than there is armor because you can only get the armor that on the class you're playing.
Yeah, but today I got the exotic that I got from a quest was just, honestly, it was just random. Was the Knucklehead Radar.
That's not a quest exotic.
It was from
So
doing
he got
the
it from doing a quest.
heroic adventure is what I got it from doing.
Oh,
So I
okay.
didn't get it from
Yeah.
I didn't get it from an engram or not a drop. I got it
Yeah.
from that source.
Listen, the drop rate has to be up. I've gotten 3 exotics this week.
Ugh, jeez.
I've gotten 3 exotics this week. I got a Sunshot, a Wormhusk Crown, and a what was the third one I got? It was some other year 1 weapon, but like literally 3 year 1 exotics since
Wow.
the patch.
I've only gotten 1 exotic, but it was a Wormhusk Crown, so I was pretty mad about it.
When was the last exotic you got? That was a couple of weeks ago, right?
I've never gotten a Destiny 2 Forsaken exotic, so.
No, I mean, if we're specifically isolating the drop rate, just the drop rate alone.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks, I'd say.
Okay, so like you get 1 in the very first week. I've gotten 2 in the first week. You've gotten 3, Huffy. Only me. I'm the only one who got an actual Forsaken item.
Sounds like they broke something.
Like not working as intended.
Yeah.
No.
So
I'm happy with the drop rate though. If this is like 3 exotics from like
we talked about this though. Like I actually liked the drop rate before. I liked the slow drop rate, so it's exciting when you get an exotic, but I just want it to actually be an exotic I don't have, you know?
Yeah.
Why can't they just actually get rid of, like, cross them off the list and do a checkoff list and make them impossible to get?
Yeah.
Because
it's
it
too
is
deep in the code,
like,
bro.
Oh my god.
3,000 lines of code, for each item.
Yeah.
It is part of the Destiny experience though, like going into a raid and everybody gets an exotic at the end, and like one guy like is the like only one to like get like a quest exotic, like he gets the A on something and everybody else gets something new, and you're like, haha, I get shit on.
Speaking of
sorry guys, adding the drifter to the tower has actually increased the memory constraints on the game, and that's why the exotic drop rate is broken.
Or typical Bungie bugs when Redeem did it the first time, only 4 of them got the actual.
Oh my god, really?
Is that true?
I thought all of them got it.
All of them did, but like you can imagine a Bungie bug in a case like that, be like, well, it's Bungie, so
yeah.
That's funny.
So the Wish Ender that has been buffed in base damage. I haven't tested it.
Way better.
Yeah, I still haven't. I mean, we talked about it, but I still haven't seen people using it in PvP. I don't think you're going to too much.
I've ran into a lot of it.
Yeah,
and having your shields instantly broken and like you being down to it does like 160 damage. Man.
Oh,
like it does a lot of damage
because it was 120 before, right?
Yeah,
so that's a big change.
Well, the charge time reduction and then the damage boost probably is what's making it.
What charge time reduction?
They had a bow charge time reduction, right?
No.
For the Wish Ender, or just damage increase?
Just a damage increase, yeah.
Gotcha.
And then I don't know what this means, but Wish Ender's Queen Wrath perk effects are now more readable and consistent.
It just means that the
wall hacks. They made it more visually.
Yeah, they're more solid. They used to blink a lot. They're just solid more often.
Okay.
So overall, it's a better weapon. I still don't know if that's worth exotic slot though.
If you like bows and getting caught in the rain, then yeah. Trace rifles. Anybody tested this?
No, but I've been shit on by Coldheart.
No, Coldheart is like I'm like, oh, he has Coldheart. I'm dead.
You know, it's funny actually. It's like I've been watching like some console footage. I was watching True Vanguard play. I was watching like a couple other console people, and all they do is complain about Telesto. I'm like, man, I don't really like. I see a Telesto person, and I'm like, I don't even know what you're doing, dude. Like, you're not gonna kill anybody with that thing. Good luck, you know.
Telesto's a bane on console.
Yeah. But
or even when you play people using controller on PC using Telesto, it's
yeah,
Because Fusion
sometimes
Rifle's auto
yeah,
aim is
I
so
think
high.
though, Huffy, like there's got to be something with the frame rate and like the bolt magnetism or something, because even when they're using a controller, it's still not as egregious as that console footage that I would see. I don't know how it works exactly, but there's definitely a huge difference. And I know there's a large number of people on PC who use controllers, so I think it would still be a bigger problem, you know?
yeah.
Well, I don't know how many what weapon was that they did tie it to, and they found out that the more frames that you have, the more damage that it does.
It wasn't a weapon. What they had was the Phoenix Dive for the Warlock. Was recovering more health than it did on console with a lower frame rate.
I could have swore there was a weapon too, but then you
Yeah, it
have
was
that.
the 1K.
Oh, the 1K. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
1,000
yeah.
voices was because like each of the little dots on the floor is technically like a tick.
Yeah.
So like higher frame rates were causing like more ticks of like substance whatever to like actually come out of the gun.
Well, the problem with that is that they have a competitive experience and a PvE experience. What they need to do is they need to have the tick rate higher than 20. Well, we talked about this before. Higher, what is it, 24, right? And they need
the tick rate is supposedly 40, but it never really is 40. So,
but it can't be 40 because of the consoles.
well, on console it can only be 30 because you
Right.
can't go above the
So
refresh rate of.
you have an inconsistent refresh rate for both
Yeah.
the things. If we had 60 frames per second on console, we would see it. We should theoretically see a 60 frame tick rate, which would probably solve most of all of this.
Can I let me just say that it's so like
It's the
seems,
dedicated servers though. It's the peer-to-peer networking. It's really not just that's a small part of it.
yeah, there's a lot of things that go into this, but you know, you'd think that Bungie would be like the only like huge studio to be running into these problems. They're not. So I'm not as mad at Bungie because I've been playing the Fallout 76 beta.
Yeah, but that game is on a 20-year-old engine. Like
yeah. I know, but it's just really funny. So I uncapped my frame rate. The frame rate is capped by default. I uncapped my frame rate, and then and I didn't know this was something that a lot of people were doing. I only found out later on the internet, looking around to see if other people had the same experience. I uncapped my frame rate, and then all of a sudden, when I moved,
it was faster.
I was walking like 4 to 5 times faster, and if I looked down at the ground, I was like actually flying across.
Because then your frame rate goes even higher. Because your
So
visual effects. The reason is because almost every game in the past was designed around the idea that the frame rate was always going to be locked in place, and so they built the engines so that all of the physics and everything worked around the frame rate. And then as things started, moving forward, where people were playing at higher frame rates and stuff, all of a sudden they started to run into all these problems where it was affecting how fast people could run, how fast people could shoot, depending what type of game you were playing, and it just sped everything up. So now they have to, the more sophisticated engines don't even have this problem anymore, but the older games that have to have engines rebuilt and the games that get remastered and stuff like that, they have to change every single action in the game so that it doesn't affect gameplay when people play at a higher frame rate. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but going forward, it shouldn't be an issue anymore. Especially for games that are like, hey, we're just gonna, use the Unity engine, or we're just gonna use whatever, if they license an engine, it shouldn't be a huge deal in modern 2018. But for a game like Fallout 76, that's just like, hey, we have the same Bethesda engine from like Skyrim. Yeah, that's going to be an issue. Which, so I watched SkillUp's review of that, and he was using a 1080 Ti, and he had a little bit of an older processor, like a 5920X or something like that. And he was getting like
1440.
25 FPS and 1440p in the Fallout 76 beta. And then he said he lowered it in 1080p and like adjusted some of the settings, but he could barely get like a stable 60, and in some areas it was just like busted. So that's kind of a disappointment.
Well, the reason is because there's a lot of unnecessary rendering going on in the game right now.
Yeah.
They haven't figured out how to fully optimize, and I think that they will. They have time to fix it before the release.
There's 13 days.
Yeah, it's really honestly. So the textures are like they have good texture scaling, like as far as like environmental distance scaling, like all of that stuff is working really well. But they have this weird, like overly done field of view, like running.
He mentioned that too. He said if you expand the field of view, that the HUD actually goes off the screen. Hey, Luke.
Aww. Sorry, not field of view. Depth of field.
Oh, okay.
They have this weird depth of field mechanic that is literally like generating a fog on everything. Literally every texture that you are not in the immediate vicinity of. And I think that that's really like sucking like most of people's cards dry, is this like strange depth of field mechanic, because it's literally on everything that you're not looking at. If you're standing in front of like a stop sign, everything like right outside of center screen is blurred.
Well, that's what, yeah, and I don't really understand. Destiny has the same problem, actually. Like, if you don't have the greatest graphics card and you're looking to squeeze some extra performance out of it, just turn depth of field off. I mean, even if you downgrade it, like Gamers Nexus showed that even if you downgrade it from highest to just high, it can be like as much as a 15% FPS buff. Yeah. Which is crazy because it's just a visual effect that adds blurriness. Like when I started researching this, and like I'm not like an expert on this stuff, but like when I started looking at the side by sides of what it does, I'm like, that looks horrible. Why is this like making the experience worse? That doesn't make any sense at all, you know?
Why is it even in the game?
And this is not having anything to do with Destiny, but like in other games,
like World of Warcraft.
Nope, Fortnite. Fortnite, I turn off. For Fortnite, I turn off shadows and anti-aliasing, and then post processing I turn to low as well. So I don't have any of that stuff. I mean, there's no real reason for it, but shadows off completely.
I would say anti-aliasing. If you're playing in 1080p, anti-aliasing is necessary. If you're playing in 1440p, it's optional. If you're playing in 4K, you don't need it at all. Because what it does, what it does is it rounds off the pixel edges if they get jagged. So in 1080p, you will notice the jagged edges a lot more. And then as you increase the pixel density, you're gonna have a lot less of those jagged edges. So I would say,
and then motion blur I also turn off as well. So
yeah, you should definitely turn that off.
Why is motion blur even in games?
Well,
like, why would you build these games and then like make them blurry?
Motion blur is actually designed for people with hardware restrictions who can only play in like 30 FPS, so that it makes it a little smoother when you turn and stuff like that.
It's a graphical trick to make you think something looks better than it is too. Like I don't know what year was it where everyone at E3 was like motion blur was the thing. I don't remember. It was the year that
NVIDIA Hairworks.
Hairworks started out as a project that was Dishonored was the first, like when they showed that off, because that's a really egregious motion blur game. Motion blur is everywhere.
It's a latency game. Even on PC, it still runs with like 20 milliseconds of latency.
Yeah, it was so bad with motion blur. There's other games too that I'm thinking of, like Killzone 2 was really, really bad with motion blur. Really just like some slow and clunky games, or some games that they want to trick you with some post-processing, because motion blur is kind of a post-processing effect. We think of it now in like film as a post-processing effect, but like the fact that they can do it inside of a game is like, oh, look at what we can do with a video game.
Yeah, long story short though, I mean, there's like a lot of I don't know, photographers and artsy fartsy people who think that those graphical effects look really great, so they offer them as options, but it does put strain on your GPU. So if you're looking for performance, then those are the first things to cut.
I think for like a YouTube video or whatever, depth of field is great because you're in focus and everything behind you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like that's great. But when I'm interacting with it, I don't necessarily.
Yeah, when you're trying to like shoot somebody and then you have people on the peripherals, like you want to actually see them and not just have like blurry.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly think that as soon as they turn that off server side, or like at least give players an option to actually turn it off, that the game is going to see a huge improvement. It's really overdone.
In Fallout, yeah. That makes sense. And I'll be willing to take a look at that. There is like some visual stuff though that they're not going to fix for sure. Like he was pointing out some of the water effects, very dated. I mean, it really just looks like original Skyrim, and that's just something you're going to have to accept with the game. Know that that's what you're getting, going into it.
It's very much you're playing a Fallout game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's not like a new Fallout. It's Fallout.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
just Fallout Online.
And the PvP is not the greatest. Did you play any of it at all?
Yeah. The system, I kind of like the tag system. I hate the murder system.
Yeah, that was the weird thing. Like when I was seeing that, it was like this weird like revenge thing, and like people are immune, and it makes no sense at all. It's very antiquated. It looks like a first-person shooter, but it is not a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
So.
It's really not. It's an RPG with guns.
We should probably get back to talking about Destiny, though. Thanks for listening to the short Fallout 76 podcast that we had.
Yeah, but no, seriously, you can't even change your ADS since like ADS multiplier. It's bound to the guns.
I'm not surprised.
Well,
by
I think the Fallout discussion, impacts Destiny's discussion.
I agree.
I agree. Was server side tick rate, and given that's. Well, we think that's going to be fixed by Destiny's next release, or do we think it's going to?
Well, we'll talk about that when we get to the end. I have some stuff to talk about that. Yeah,
we got more leaks.
So swords got a buff. I haven't seen anyone using swords. I haven't tested them myself. I've
seen a lot of Black Talon.
There you go. That's cool. I actually did get killed by Black Talon a couple times. Now that you mention it, so that's good to keep an eye on. Proximity grenade perks have been nerfed. I'm really happy about that.
Yeah,
that's great.
I can tell the difference.
Yeah. This is the controversial part, and we'll have some in-depth information about this, but full choke since the release of Destiny 2 has been the one and only choice for shotgun barrels. If you were running anything else, you were completely wrong. It has been nerfed by about 50%. And what it does is they've reduced the tightness of the bullet spread about 50%. And so now full choke is still one of the best options. So the God roll shotguns that you chased, it wasn't a waste. You can still use them. You can just also use rifled barrel now if you happen to get that. And I mean, even some of the other ones aren't horrible. I'd say those two are still the best, though.
Yeah, thank God they did this. It's really the consistent. Like, I'm all about shotguns are inconsistent. They're an RNG weapon, and they're a high damage, like high risk, high reward weapon. The fact that sometimes you can get some maps out of a high range shotgun. But that's an inconsistent experience. I think that's good. I think the consistent range of a shotgun should be, less than what people were getting mapped by. And the old full choke was causing people to have these God roll shotties to consistently map you from 10 to 11 meters.
Do you think, Huffy, that they should give the Gears of War treatment where they take the RNG out of the bullets, out of the pellet spread, and it's the same pattern every time?
I mean, no.
Why not?
I don't think that'll change anything.
Well, it would at least be, you'd be able to have a consistent understanding of where you can pull the trigger. It wouldn't be RNG every time you do it.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. I think it feels good with Destiny, especially since like, inner accuracy would alter that anyway.
It would, yeah. Well, you could keep the pattern the same, but the in-air accuracy would just, I guess, alter the cone that it came out in. Right?
What do you mean?
So if there's a
It
cone,
just seems like something that wouldn't work with Destiny's system, right?
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not an engineer, but I know that they did actually do that in Gears of War. It was RNG pellet spread, and they changed it to be a consistent pattern. And it was a popular change. I mean, I don't know if it would work in Destiny, but it is something to think about.
Yeah. I don't know, honestly.
I kind of feel like the Legend of Acreus does that, don't you? Like I know that the pellet spread on the wall looks different, but it kind of feels like it travels as like a single unit. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. I don't think that I honestly think I don't think that the Legend of Acreus is coded with pellets.
Right.
I think the pellets are a visual effect. I think that there's
Yeah.
a cone, and if you are inside that cone,
Like if it clips your toe, you're done. Just forget
You're
about
done.
it. Yeah.
your entire you don't get one hit
Right.
with the Legend of Acreus. Like you do not come out of it absolute. You either die or don't take
I
any
have
damage.
seen that though, and that it really is a weird thing when that does happen.
Yeah.
But it's probably just range fall off more than anything else.
Yeah, but there's like literally like half a meter where that can happen before it's just completely gone.
Well,
Yeah.
full bore is what Acreus has on it, right? And you said that was. I mean, is that something that
full choke got nerfed?
Okay, so full bore didn't.
No.
Yeah.
And no one was using it, so. But the strong thing about Acreus is it has that 100 range stat, and it seems to have a really wide cone, and I don't know. It's a very unique thing.
Yeah. It's very unique.
Yeah, it might also be, similar to the issue that they had with sniper rifles with why. I mean, we have no freaking clue for why they couldn't or could code the sniper rifles differently.
So they've also changed dynamo and distribution to basically stop people from abusing them. If you guys didn't know, there was a problem where people were just sprinting around in the spawn and then building up their supers. It was really annoying. So this is a good change. Glad they got on top of this fairly quickly. So they've changed how it works just to iterate how the changes happen. You need to activate your class ability in proximity to at least one enemy. That's how it always should have been. In compensation for that change, they made it more powerful if you do activate it near an enemy, which I think is a fair change.
Yeah.
To make it worth actually running the perk. So it's 20% more effective when you do that now. And then fixed an issue where Dynamo's effect was not scaling based on the player's class type. Distribution perk had this, but was unintentionally left out of Dynamo. I don't know what that means. Do you?
Me either, bro.
Yeah, I've never used Dynamo, so I don't know what that means. I don't really understand.
I started using Dynamo when I found out that you could spectral blades infinitely.
I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar with it, but I think what they're trying to say is that if you had maybe the enemy's class type.
No, I think it means like whether you're warlock. I mean, because you get class ability at slightly different times for warlock, titan, and hunter. So I think it means it was not scaling appropriately to the different classes.
Got it.
So now it was, if
Dynamo,
it's 18 seconds and you have a 20% reduction, then if it's not scaling properly with that, then you could take it from one class to another.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, sir.
So those are good. Those are good changes.
Yeah, the best changes, and that's the kind of thing that we've always needed in Destiny. Where those are big things for this sandbox.
Yep.
Right. Like people are very frustrated with shotguns. People were very frustrated with Dynamo. people are very frustrated with the grenade launchers, and they said, hey, all of those things you're frustrated with, they're still lethal, but now they're more balanced for the sandbox. How do you feel? It wasn't a like whole meta change where like, oh hey, all the stuff you thought was broken is we're not going to fix that. We're actually just going to make pulse rifles way better than hand cannons. Go.
And we nerf fusion rifles. Bam.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm so happy.
So, what day was that? Monday. Giggs put out a tweet. I mean, this is kind of directly having to do with what you're just talking about. He said, "I really wish D2 got sandbox updates more than 3-4 times a year. Bug fixes have been plentiful, but I want the game to be shaken up more often."
Yeah, but he's not talking about these changes. He's talking about major like meta changes, which I do agree with him.
I mean, why can't we just like be working towards like my idea of this is like, why can't we just be working towards like a sandbox that is like intrinsically balanced instead of like throwing
that doesn't exist though.
I know it doesn't exist, but like the kinds of changes that we've had in Destiny sandbox so far have shaken things up like so dramatically that like every time it gets shaken up, like 20 to 30% of the player population is just like thrown in the dark because the way they play is like now irrelevant. And like it's just like shifting that around. Like, why can't we just work towards like a balanced, like more consistent gaming experience? It seems like a weird way to approach it to me.
I think probably like a lot of the people who've been around like since the game launched have just given up on that vision that you're talking about, Huffy, because it just doesn't seem possible at this point. So they'd rather just at least keep it fresh,
I mean, to me, it seems more possible than it's ever been. Like Destiny feels good right now.
I mean, so here's something I would consider these things major sandbox changes that I want to see soon. Titan skating's got to be addressed. It's the elephant in the room that they're like not talking about. I know they're afraid to do anything about it. They don't want to ruin like people's fun. But something's got to happen.
They have to. They have to do something.
Another thing is the whole like supers and roaming supers. Everything supers just feel like really, really strong, and I kind of wish that there was at least some sort of counter. High impact snipers being able to take them out. I don't know, like I guess slug shotties. Do you think slug shotties should be able to one-hit kill supers if you hit them in the head, or was that the case in D1? I think so.
I mean, it depends. I mean, I don't think that a slug shotty should be able to one-hit kill any super. I think that that's kind of.
I mean, if that's the way it is right now, I don't have a problem with it because
it's not the way it is right now. But
okay,
they can only one-shot golden gun and spectral blades.
Well, I don't think that should happen then. Like, I don't think golden gun and spectral blade should be able to be one shot if all the other supers can't. I think keeping that the way it is right now is fine, only because like it's very rare if you're ever able to feel like you have the upper hand against a super anyway. So rare. It's so rare.
I don't like being relegated to somebody popped a roaming super, I have to run for 14 seconds. I don't think that that's good. I mean, I know you can team shot if they'll like run down an open lane at you, but most of the time they're going to be popping it behind a wall near a group of enemies and then just running through you, So I want like a quick way to respond. If you can snipe them in the head with a high impact sniper, that should kill them. And then I don't know like what other special weapons. I guess a high impact shotgun and then a follow up with a melee.
Well, I had the opposite experience this week where I had lowered the Void super on the Warlock. He was ready to just destroy me. I got him. He was down a lane on that new that D1 map that has that lane on the right hand side. Well, he walked around the corner instead of continuing to lane me, and I had him down to half health, and I had the retold tail. So it's like, hello. So he's half health, and I just killed him. So stuff like that is like you have to kind of have that opening a little bit so you kind of have to plan for it a little bit, but they still happen.
Jack asks a good question. He says, why are some supers total tanks and others are boxes of tissues? I would say, like, the original design intent I understood. So in Destiny 1, like, Golden Gun was the weakest armor-wise of any super. It could be very easily killed. You barely got any extra armor from when you were a normal Guardian when you were in your super. And the reason was because it was far and away the strongest, most consistent super. It lasted a good amount of time. It could one-hit kill other supers. It was very accurate from a long range, and it was a hit scan super. In Destiny 2, that is not the case with Golden Gun. So I don't know what they're doing. It's like this short-acting thing. The armor sucks on it, and you can't even one-hit kill other supers unless you, like, manipulate top tree by not upgrading it and stuff. So, like, all of that needs to be looked at and just say, okay, our design philosophy with this was wrong. Back to the drawing board, you know?
Yeah.
Spectral Blades, I'd say the same thing. Like, I get that it's supposed to be a stealthy thing, so you don't need to make it super strong as far as, like, being able to tank damage, but the hit registration makes it feel really bad.
It just needs to be more mobile.
Yeah.
Like, if the hit rate, like, so I would be totally fine. Like, we're talking about things like, oh, can this one-shot headshot a super? Like, can a slugshot shotgun one-shot a super? Can the sniper rifle one-shot a super? All of that was fine. Like, Blade Dancer Destiny 1, I was fine, like, being weak, because I was mobile. I could swipe multiple times in the air. My super would go down fast enough. There was blink. Like, if the supers were more mobile, it'd be fine. Like, Dawnblade is in a perfect spot to,
Hammer
like,
Titan too is in a perfect spot. But you know what? What's not fair about that with super balance is, like, this is another thing that has to be looked at. Why are some roaming supers able to fly through the air and chuck one-hit kill projectiles, Dawnblade and Hammer Titan, that one-hit kill other supers? But if you're an arc, a pole dancer, like Jack was saying, or Spectral Blades, you have to hit those others. You got to hit the Dawnblade or the Hammer Titan multiple times. It doesn't make any sense. I have to close the gap on them, sneak up on them, and hit them twice, but they can hit me from a distance. And I mean, that doesn't make any sense at all. That's just, like, nonsense, you know?
It's like Destiny supers are, like, they've unfortunately made this weird paradigm of, like, rock paper scissors with supers, where there's just, like, there's just no paper.
Yeah.
Like, there's just rock and scissors, and rock always shits on scissors.
Yeah.
Like,
and by the way, hunters are always scissors.
Yes. Hunters in most cases, unless it's the blade barrage.
Yeah.
And, like, your scissors, or your paper and their scissors.
Yeah, and it's like Huffy was saying, like, a lot of it could be fixed by just being like, hey, Spectral Blades and Arc Strider can now swipe as many times as they want in the air and stay up there.
Yeah,
you know?
and it doesn't take as much super energy.
Right.
Yeah, bam, fixed, literally.
I think the way that they need to fix that is it doesn't take as much super energy if you if you hit them, then it should take super energy. It should take more super energy. If you don't hit them, then
or hell, just give me a set amount of time to be in super. Like, this is how long your super lasts.
Because when like, if you're on your Titan, right, you're throwing hammers. The only thing that reduces your super time is throwing a hammer.
Mm-hmm.
And 90% of the time you're going to throw and you're going to get a kill.
Maybe multiple kills because they explode next to whatever they're standing to.
And like, the other super lasts longer. The one with sunspots. It lasts.
If you stand in it. If you stand in it, yeah.
Well, I know, yeah, but it lasts a little bit longer if you do it right, right?
Yeah.
You have to stand in the sunspot, I think.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
The thing about that Titan hammer that explodes is the effect is almost invisible. So, like, he throws the hammer, and then you're like, is this a safe area to run through? And then, like, you just die. Like, there's not a visual indicator even that, like, this is non-playable space.
Well, and it looks like it's traveling kind of slow. So like I've had situations before where I slide out and I know that the Titan is like weak. So I'll snipe them in the head and they're looking at me and I'll see the hammer coming towards me and I'll be like, boom, he's dead, dodge out of the way. And then you're like, I'm good. But no, the hammer lands 14 feet in front of you, explodes, and you're still dead somehow, and it's a trade now. So
Yeah, JV said that him and I have been in the Crucible, and some supers just seem to last just literally forever.
Like which ones?
The ones that I would say last a pretty long time would be.
Oh my god!
He's saying Dawnblade mostly. Dawnblade lasts
well,
forever.
Dawnblade does last a long time, especially if they don't actually throw any swords and they're just like flying around the map.
I think the Void super lasts a pretty long time though, like on Warlock.
Yeah.
Nova Warp.
Yeah.
So there's some weird stuff about that though.
Spectral blades. I think that spectral blades needs to be longer.
Yeah. Well, do you know that like the handheld
Saying
supernova?
that with the chest piece or no?
I don't know if this is intended design, guys, but the handheld supernova will sometimes just randomly blow up in your hand and kill you. So I don't know if it's like a risk reward thing, like, hey, 5% of the time it's just gonna blow up in your hand. But and then another thing that can happen too is like True Vanguard was saying, like he was playing competitive and like charged up his handheld supernova and went to chuck it and his teammate stepped in front of it and it killed him and his teammate.
That's so funny.
So there's definitely some interesting stuff that can happen with that. But,
yeah, it one shots the spectral blades, so
my god.
I'm happy that it's exploding in their face.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna throw it out there. Throwing knife needs a buff once again.
Again, yeah. Just
it never got buffed. They said that it did. It never did.
How many days since throwing knife has been buffed?
A lot.
It literally has never been buffed in D2. So
it's never been buffed in D1. It's only been nerfed.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
True that.
So.
Yep. So please put it back to 158 to the head. I'm not one of those crazy people asking for it to one-hit kill.
I think it
Guardians.
should one-hit
No,
kill.
no, you don't. Trust me, you don't. Because think about this, Exo. This is what you're not considering. The Gambler's Dodge gives you a melee back. You just literally have hunters just dodging around, throwing infinite knives at people.
That's great.
No, it doesn't.
You're going to peek into a lane. You're going to walk sideways into a lane, and someone will have pre-thrown a throwing knife, and you're just going to instantly die.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, wow, this is not a good experience.
Throw on your controllers, guys, because...
Yeah.
But yeah, I do want it to at least... I want it to be strong enough that even if you're using a 180 hand cannon archetype, if you hit a headshot with a hand cannon and a headshot with the throwing knife, that should always be a kill, 100% of the time.
Well, if it's... So, like, any hand cannon, what's the damage on a hand cannon? What's the lowest amount of damage on a headshot?
39 is the lowest.
Well, that's body shot, like though, right?
Yeah, 39 is the lowest body shot.
Yeah, and it's like 60 to the head or something?
57 on 180.
Yeah, 57.
Okay. So what is that?
Like I said, if you go back to 158, 158, well, that's what it was in D1. That's why I just said 158. 158 to the head, 120 to the body. I think that would be a good spot for it. And then, like, Golden Gun might not suck, and people might use something other than Blade Barrage.
Yeah. I'd even take 110 to the body, literally just enough to break the shields. Like, bam, you hit with it, like, your shield's broken.
That's to the body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So 110 to the body, and then.
Well, that's what it was in D1 after the nerf. It was 110 to the body and 140 to the head.
Did they give any reasons why they didn't buff that? Because they their words.
Actually, they just lied about it. People said hey, is throwing knife going to be brought in line with the 2-hit kill melees? To, you know, like, is it going to be buffed because we're in a 2-hit kill melee meta now? And they said yes. And then the patch came out and nothing happened, and they reached out to Cosmo or Damage, I think, and they were like, hey, it hasn't been buffed. And he was like, it's been brought in line. Like, no, it's the same exact damage as it was before, but So, yeah. Moving on though, Breakthrough. They've made some changes to Breakthrough, and before we talk about the changes, what they didn't make clear in here is it back in the competitive playlist right now, or no?
Yes.
It is back in the competitive playlist? Okay.
Yeah, it is 100% in the back. Yep.
And what do you think of the changes, Huffy?
So the matches can no longer last forever. They're still miserable.
Okay.
So, you know, it's not eternal damnation. It's only temporary damnation. What could they do to fix it? They can't. It just doesn't work for Destiny. Bam. And I'm sorry, I hate to say that, but like the way that class abilities are laid out, and the way the maps that they made for Breakthrough are far too small.
I didn't notice anything in these notes about the spawn trapping problem. Has that been addressed at all?
No. It can't, because of the way the Breakthrough maps are designed. The Breakthrough maps were designed in a good way for Breakthrough, just like with like a very terrible scaling. They would need to be much larger. The playable spaces, you know, for capturing these stones, like in the way cover works on these maps, it's just like there are huge like open areas to get to the breakthrough points, right? Like huge open areas where you're vulnerable, but then like the actual places where you cap have tons of cover and are very hard to push. Like when it's just a mess. Just a mess. Most of the time, like and the time it takes to capture a point, most of the time you can capture the point like literally with a single towering barricade before it's broken by the other team. It's just a mess, man.
Wow.
It's just a mess.
All right, back to the drawing board with that one, Bungie.
Yeah, back to the drawing board.
I don't really have anything else to say about that.
No, I mean, I haven't played Breakthrough at all this week.
Gambit changes. We talked about this last week, what they were doing. Mostly sleeper changes, less heavy ammo, less aim assist. Also, the quitter penalties are back in, and you know, they've made some adjustments to that. You can read the finer details of it. We don't need to go line by line. But the important thing is the Ascendant Primeval is more common now. People are even getting it this week, even though it's not the week right now where the curse is strongest. That'll be next week. But people have seen it 4 or 5 times, you know, in a day this week. So wow. It's a lot more common. I haven't seen it at all this week, but I'm gonna play Gambit all weekend because I need the triple infamy so I can actually reset 3 times. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. I as well. I think that
you're gonna play because you're stuck with the Rockstar challenge, right? You're gonna
play. I'm not gonna be able to play. I have just too much work this weekend and the Rockstar challenge, but I don't know. You know, I'm glad that is available for people to get their resets in. I wish that I was able to participate.
Yeah. You have anything to say about Gambit, EXO?
No, I mean, I played a little bit of Gambit this week, but I mean, I didn't really. I didn't see the boss, but then I wasn't really looking for it either.
Okay. Well, while we're on activities, before we move on to items and economy, Huffy, do you want to talk about this Rockstar challenge and just tell us what it's all about, what you've been participating in, and why do you like pain?
Why do I like pain?
Yeah. Pain. Pain.
Oh, pain. So the Rockstar challenge is this incredibly painful experience where they set up so the rules of the Rockstar challenge are simple. There's a leaderboard. and you gain points for certain things, right? The top, certain tiers of players and points gain certain prizes. The grand prize is if you qualify and then get into the last round, the top 4 people from the last round get flown out to Bungie to play Crucible against each other on the Bungie Twitch. And they get like a tour of Bungie and to like meet the devs and stuff. That's the grand prize.
400?
4.
The top 4.
Oh, I was going to say 400. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, no, top 4. So that's in the last week. In order to qualify for the last week, you have to be top 200 in one of these 3 weeks, right? So there's been 7 weeks of it so far. There's 3 weeks of like open, everybody's entered. And if you get in the top whatever, you win certain prizes. And then there's these 3 weeks where you have to manually enter. And the top like person this for the next 3 weeks gets cyber power, like custom built PC. Top 10 get like these chair packages, gaming chair packages, and past that you can get systems and controllers and stuff. But so there's a week of Crucible, then there's a week of Strikes, then there's a week of Gambit. And so the top 200 from each go into the final round. There's only 600 players total in the final round. But the last week is only Crucible. It's really weird. So like the top 200 Strike players in the world, like in the last week, are gonna go into Crucible. It makes a lot of sense.
It kind of sucks that they didn't do the Gambit week during the week when they had Triple Infamy going on.
Right?
But
Davey said he hopes that you win it, and every time that you die in Crucible, you shout, "God, this game needs to be fixed."
I'm gonna try my hardest. Here's the problem with the competition is the point system. The point system does not care about wins. It's not care about KD. It's not care about efficiency. It's not care about scaling your points acquired at the time played. It is simply you gain 100 points for every match played.
I thought that there was something about precision kills and Guardian kills.
You get 1 point for every Guardian kill.
Yeah.
And 3 points for every precision kill, which literally are irrelevant. It's literally just how many matches can you play.
Yeah.
Which means that you have to mercy every team.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that the speed of you finding a match, console versus PC, is very important.
It might be worth it for you to use a VPN to target a highly populated area to find matches quicker.
It literally might.
Yeah.
And then also like the skill, like the more you can mercy, like the platform with the most plebs, like you have a distinct advantage. So what people are doing is they're going to PS4, they're getting a 6 stack of players for 12 hours and then another 6 stack. And then these people are having somebody play on their account while they're asleep. So they're just doing like 12 hours.
Well, you knew that was going to happen. That always happens with these kind of
teams.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is literally just like a who can cheese the system the most fast.
I was telling Diet though, because he was saying, it would be better if it was kill based, and I said there's really no perfect system for these kind of competitions, because if you make it kill based, people will just manipulate their network connections to match their friends so they can just farm kills, and then you'll be dealing with that system,
Yeah, you can, because you can get kills in breakthrough too.
Right. Yeah.
So what's happened? We're in week 4 right now.
Yeah.
How many people from each week are going?
200.
200, but there's only for this week and the next 2 weeks. The first 3 weeks were open rounds. These are the qualifiers.
So week 4 is a qualifier, or week 5 is a qualifier?
Week 4, 5, and 6 are qualifiers for the final round.
And it's 3 different activities. One's Strikes, one's Crucible, one's Gambit.
Yeah,
I see that. Crucible. I
wonder how much I felt while I was asleep.
Yeah. What were you when you went to sleep? What?
I was like 119.
Nice. Yeah. So that's an interesting challenge. I would never participate in something like that because
59 now.
Once you're committed to that kind of thing, you just
But if you're number one
can't do anything
in
else.
the past couple of weeks, are you gonna be well, so like for example, Modern hit he was number one in week 3. When does he have to play again?
He has to play again in week
7.
6.
Okay, so this is
To
the
qualify for
qualifying for week 1. This is the qualifying for week 1 right now.
This is the qualifying for week 7. The next
Right.
3 weeks
Yeah.
are the qualifying rounds.
We're according to Rockstar's thing, it says we are in week 4.
Right.
Yes. So weeks
So-
1, 2, and 3 were open. The weeks 4, 5, and 6 are qualifying rounds for week 7. And
Yep.
then week 7 is the only like totally closed week. Like you have to to play in week 7, you had to have been in the top 200 in weeks 4, 5, or 6. Weeks 1, 2, and 3 are irrelevant.
Yeah. They were just for like prizes, right? Weeks
Those
1,
were
2,
just
and
for
3.
prizes.
Yeah.
Okay, so 4, 5, and 6 are qualifiers from week 1, 2, and 3.
No.
No.
4, 5, and 6, and 1, 2, and 3 are not related. 1, 2, and 3 were just an open thing for prizes. 4, 5, and 6, the top 200 from each of those weeks goes on to week 7. So there'll be 600 people in week 7. Well, there could be an overlap where it's like the same person qualified in different
So
ways.
what did they win for last week then?
There's like
Last
hoodies
Yeah.
and like gaming PC and stuff like that for
The
different.
top 5 won a gaming PC?
No, the top 1 wins
top
a game.
1 wins a gaming PC, and then yeah, there's like
the
hoodies.
top 1.
Yeah, there's hoodies and
Top
hats
one.
and stuff like that everybody gets for being
Oh,
top
so
200.
this week is the gaming PC then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so top
Last
200 this week get just like a hoodie and a hat and go on to the next round.
Last week was a gaming
The hoodie
chair, an
looks sick.
Astro headset,
Yep.
scuff controllers. The
Yep.
week before that was same deal. And then week 5 is computer again with scuff controllers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Computers, scuff controllers. And then week 7 is the final round.
So
Yeah, week 7, you just have to be top 4.
And there's only
I
only
really
gonna
think
be-
that you should go for first place, Huffy, so you can win a second free PC. That only seems right, you know.
I need to win something from playing Destiny because so far my gaming experience is I'm coming out on top on Fortnite.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to play some Fortnite tonight, Huff?
Absolutely not.
Well, now it's not the time. Really.
Personally, I can't wait till this is over so that we can actually go back to playing competitive because I am not making any progress in that at all. So
I need to play this weekend. I just I'm gonna
right.
cement my spot.
I will be on all weekend, so definitely hit me up to play some
Awesome, let's do
competitive.
it.
Next week is Strikes. This week is Crucible.
Yeah.
And then week 6 is Gambit. So you're not
Right.
gonna be doing Crucible today. This week.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we already started talking about the exotic duplicate thing. It's working kind of strangely. I think what we can say for sure is that these quest exotics have been removed from the loot pool, right?
Yeah, I haven't received any. So that's good.
That's a good change.
Mhm.
I really hope I start getting some Forsaken exotics soon. That would be really nice. Some other quality of life changes that happened. The gunsmith parts you can turn in 25 at a time now, and you can delete shaders 4 times as fast as you used to be able to. It does feel very fast. I still kind of feel like it's a band-aid. I wish that they would just make it so that, like I said last week, that you don't need to put shaders in the inventory. Just, give us the new shaders in the collection. Give us the materials from the shaders.
Well, we should be able to shade from the collection.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine too. Yep.
Yeah, no, the
But,
shader deletion feels a lot faster. The like with the current system, it they didn't change the speed at which you obtain a shader or gear from the collections. So if you delete a shader, you can delete it super fast, but then it takes the same amount of time to get it from the collection. If you want to go back.
But I
and get it,
mean,
it
you're
takes
not
forever.
shading like hundreds of things, right?
No, but it takes too much time, I think, because
It
it's
could
only
definitely be
like the
better.
the cost of it is only 2 shards and like 250 glimmer. That's not a big deal. But then the time, it's like, are you sure? Those prompts should be a lot faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you guys been getting more masterwork cores or enhancement cores?
I
don't know. Like I had 170 before I started this week. I have 188 right now.
Wow. That's intense, man.
I have about 100.
Anything. I don't really masterwork anything. The only thing I do now is dismantle.
Yeah, so I've noticed I've been getting a little bit more, which is nice, and the scrapper bounties help out a little bit. So I think that will balance the economy a bit.
Doing better, but
the last thing I wanted to mention with this economy thing is I think a really, really nice change is this Nightfall thing. If you want to farm a Nightfall exclusive weapon or whatever the loot happens to be that week, every time you run it and don't get it, it increases your chances of getting it on the next run.
That's nice.
Until you get it, and then the chances go back to the base amount. So,
which is 5%. I don't know how much it increases it. Have you been playing Nightfalls at all to see what the drop rate usually was?
I haven't, but I want to get a couple of the different ones. I need to get the pulse rifle this week from the Corrupted Strike because that's part of the title for the Dreaming City. So I will be testing.
What are the other ones this week?
I actually don't know. Oh wait, Arms Dealer, and then the third one.
What do you get from Arms Dealer?
If it's 5, if it's the same as the EP chance, it should be 5.
Yeah, because in EP, on the 20th run, you're guaranteed it if you haven't gotten it yet. So
yeah, so it's probably the same. I would say, but like with drop chances, the way they work is it usually is about 50%, and then you're pretty much guaranteed it at some point. So like 10 runs feels about right.
There's no way it's 50% base though. It's not that high.
No. It probably starts at 5.
Maybe.
I think what he's saying is like after 10 runs, like you're likely
after 10, your likelihood is 1 out of 2. So you'll probably get it at 10 or 11 runs. With a drop chance being 50%, you're very likely to get it.
That makes sense. So yeah, that's all I have for the patch notes. You guys want to move on to the TWAB?
The TWAB.
Let's do it, brother.
All right, so there's been some controversy about the Masterwork armor, and I'm glad that they're putting this information out here so quickly because the community's been saying that like Masterwork armor isn't working for the elemental damage resistance, and apparently it is working. So the way that it works is that
we're just dumb and we didn't know.
Right. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
It's like it's our fault.
Yeah. No, you simpletons. Let me explain it to you.
I mean, it isn't. We don't have like damage meters or anything. Like testing.
Yeah, is really kind of hard. Yeah. So you get 1% extra resistance against arc, solar, or void per tier that you upgrade for a maximum total of 15%. You can mix and match that so that you could have 5% void, 10% solar, 5% arc. You can mix and match it however you want, and you won't get any diminishing returns or anything like that. On top of that, when you upgrade it, you get 1% extra damage resistance while in your super. This applies in PvP as well. The damage resistance against elemental stuff does not apply in PvP, only against AI combatants. Also,
Gambit.
Right, Gambit and PvE. These effects do stack. So a thing like you don't have to have the same element. It doesn't have to be all arc for the super thing to work. You can mix and match that as well. So basically it's really simple. You get 1% for each tier towards each of those things, and that's all there really is to it.
Yeah. So like technically if you had like a 25% solar resistant set, things like the Pyramidian Strike, right, would be or sorry, the arms dealer would be just like less oppressive.
Yeah.
However, it just like doesn't seem like worth it to me to like farm up an entire resistance set and spend that many masterwork cores to like take less damage from a single Nightfall boss sniper rifle. I don't know. It's there's not like a lot of application for that.
And they said that the masterwork super damage also stacks as well.
Yes. Michael says he was talking about the Nightfall drops, and he says that unfortunately the drop chance starts at 0%, and because it's starting at 0 times 0, 0, and
the increase is 0%. So sorry about that. It seems to work just fine.
Yeah.
Michael, come back.
Would be great is if they times it, if it was 1%, they multiplied it by 5 each time, so it only took you like five runs to get it. Because there are like not masterworked versions of it, right? There are out there. There are
curated roles,
but then there are like regular
for the Nightfall stuff you're talking about. Yeah, only for the new ones, not the old ones. Obviously, don't have random rolls at all. So,
well, they're going to be masterworked when you get them, though.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Dude, the curated mindbenders is nuts.
I need to get a mindbender still too.
I have one with slide shot, and I don't know what the other ones that are good, but I heard the curated ones are really good.
Dude, it's nuts.
Is that this week? Is that the Nightfall?
The last 2 weeks.
Last 2 weeks.
So,
okay. So it might be next week.
You missed your window, buddy.
It's all right. It might be next week, but next week is going to be the big Gambit week for sure.
Real quick, the winners for the picture contest for
I mean, we talked about it last week about how they didn't really look that good, and they didn't. Most of the people's ones that they had voted on looked awful, but there's really kind of interest. Like some are good, and then some are just like silly.
Pretty much what I expected.
Was it?
Yeah,
it's exactly what you expected. I mean,
I actually, my favorite one is probably the one that took the least amount of effort. I love the one where everybody is like loading in with Shaq's mask.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's my favorite one as well.
It's a Crucible.
the refer a friend things live. I saw Huffy already got his emblem for that. So.
Oh yeah, the refer a friend stuff is awesome. All the ornaments and so here's the.
Did you get the Sparrow? Did you get that many refers in?
No, I have to refer one more person for the Sparrow.
Gonna buy another account?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
somebody help this man. If you're thinking about playing Destiny 2, please reach out to Huffy so that he doesn't.
Well, do you have to buy Forsaken for the account, or do you have to? You do.
I mean, Destiny 2
is but that's all you have to buy. Yeah, like it's $40 and you get all of the expansions, including
$120 for.
It's $40.
It's $40, actually.
You're talking for 3 people, though.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's $120, Huffy.
Yeah. All right. So here's the one thing that kind of makes me. No. Here's the one thing that kind of makes me feel weird is the emblem. The refer a friend emblem is a tracking emblem.
For what?
It tracks
how many people you
refer.
Amount
of refer a friend?
Oh my god.
So it's literally an emblem. It's like, how much money have you made for Bungie?
Yeah. How much money have you spent making fake accounts?
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I think these costumes though are pretty neat. Some of them, others are terrible. But I think the Zur one looks pretty good, although you can't see it. I didn't really care about the Ascendant one or that one. I didn't really care about that. The one that I thought was really good was the where is it at? I don't know. It was the Callus one. Callus one was pretty decent.
So 2 things I want to talk about. Festival of the Lost. This is the last week for you to farm your masks in a horror story in the haunted forest.
Yes.
I think I've just accepted. I'm not doing that. I find it boring. I'm not doing it, and it's gonna bother me forever that I didn't finish. Not like I have 2 masks, and I didn't get the auto rifle. So I haven't really played it a whole lot.
The weekly on all 3 characters give you 120. If you do 3 days of the 5 bounties, you'll have enough to get at least the auto rifle.
Yeah, but I mean, some of that stuff is like use a mask in the Crucible. I'm just not doing all that stuff, you know. I don't know. Like it definitely, it's gonna bother me that I didn't finish all those triumphs. I know, like when I'm getting close to having all the triumphs and I'm looking at that events page, I'm gonna be like, God damn you, Bungie!
Yeah.
Why did you put this in here?
I don't think it's worth anything, right? I don't think they're points that are worth anything. They're just unfinished.
Yeah,
triumphs.
that's true. So
I really only care about them if they were worth something. Like if they had a point value attached to them, I might care.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just scared there's gonna be something later that's gonna require you to have had those done.
Yeah. Are either of you guys gonna get the auto rifle or finish any of this stuff, or are you in the same boat as me?
I'm not gonna.
I have the shaders, so I have all of the I have the Amaranth Atrocity, which is a really good shader if you get all 9 of the masks. I've yet to get, the only thing I have left to get is the origin story.
So are you gonna do it or no?
I probably will because I have 22 souls and it's 120. And I have...
It sounds so weird to say that. I have 20 souls.
It's like Dark Souls style.
Yeah. And I have...
You lost 87 souls.
Each of the weekly bounties give you 40 each, and I've got 7 on one character, and then 5 on my Titan and Hunter, and like 8 on my Warlock. So it's like 2 days more, and I have it. So it's...
That could be a good idea for the Haunted Forest. It could be like a time limit thing where it's like a survival, and like at the end, like if you die, you just lose all the souls.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. That would be way more fun.
Yeah. All right. So now's the time when I have to be critical. Or did you have more to say about?
Are we talking about, because like we missed like way back when we first started talking about Masterwork? If we were going in order of this week at Bungie, are you talking about the quest from Amanda Holiday?
Yeah.
Okay, that's where we're going. Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah. All right, so the murder mystery went live this week. I've been looking forward to this. I was really hoping this would be the thing I enjoyed the most about the Festival of the Lost. And let me just say, the time gating they're doing with this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. The quest step that you do literally takes 5 minutes. And then there's nothing else to do for the week. They're just stretching this out over 3 weeks for literally no reason other than to just stretch out content until they're ready to start announcing stuff about Black Armory, in my opinion.
Yep. Because they're going to have, in that 4th week, we're going to be in, think about where we'll be, right? So we will be...
The event ends this week, and they're stretching this out over the next 3 weeks. I don't even, like, if they were going to do it for 3 weeks, they should have started this 3 weeks ago.
So the second week will be 6th to the 13th, and then the 13th to the 20th. So on the 21st, I think based on the release dates of the other ones, I'd say December 4th is probably the date that they're going to release it, right?
What, Black Armory? No, I think it'll be later than that, later in December, but I could be wrong.
It could be first or second week in for sure. So that's either the 14th or the 11th. Right around that time, the 20th or the 21st is when we're going to start. Like, that's when they're going to go, oh, well, we're going on vacation, revealing all the Black.
That's the time. Every year, the whole Bungie studio, like towards the end of December, goes on vacation for a month.
Vacation starts for them like right around the 15th, and they don't get back until the
January something. It's a month.
January.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a full month.
Yeah, so I mean, they deserve that. They put a lot of work into this game. It's just, but be
Well, they
ready
wouldn't-
for it.
that-
Be ready
that
for it,
video-
because if something happens that breaks the game, it's not getting fixed. So
Yeah. What
Yeah.
didn't their vacation and Prometheus lens overlap? What was it that overlapped with their vacation last year?
well, not last year.
The Prometheus lens was they were at the German event.
Oh yeah.
Pack. So
Something broke 2 years ago.
I'll tell you what happened in Destiny 1. Somebody thought it would be a good idea to pull a fast one and just ramp up skill-based matchmaking right before they go on vacation, and then not tell anybody, and like not even tell anybody at the studio. So like not even anyone at Bungie was on the same page, and everyone was like, why is it taking me 10-15 minutes to find a match, and the connection sucks, and everything about this game is horrible. And Bungie was like, we didn't do anything. And they just lied about it.
Yep.
Gamescom was the week that we were at Gamescom, and they had the thing that broke, the Prometheus lens.
So yeah, I hope that the rest of this quest, at least the other 2 steps, has a little more to it. I really do. I'm excited for Thunderlord, but if this
We all know it's Thunderlord.
But
Come on.
If the quest steps are this crappy, then this is going to be really stupid. I'm not going to be happy about it. But that's pretty much that.
I'm like kind of like, I know it's gonna be Thunderlord, but like this like part of me like deep down in my soul is hoping that like there is a great Bungie troll, like API troll, and like the Thunderlord ornaments are like there for like the far future, and the quest is actually gonna end, and we're just gonna get the last word.
Oh my god! Yeah, right.
Right. That would just be.
Jack says he wants to know where the hell Faction Rally is, and the answer to that question is it's back at the drawing board, as it always is. They pull it from the game every once in a while, send it back to the drawing board, bring it back out, and it still sucks. So
yeah, it's next to Trials.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about some leaks that it actually these leaks came out the same day we were doing our podcast last week, and I didn't know about them before writing the show notes, but Anon the 9, the same guy that we've been talking about that has been so credible with all the leaks so far.
He has a very good track record.
Yeah.
It's just getting better too.
Yeah. Basically said that Destiny 3 development has officially begun, that Chris Barrett is in charge of it, that it is going to be a hardcore...
Hang on. First, that decision, do you agree with?
Chris Barrett? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
he's the one who did Forsaken. He was the head of Forsaken.
Okay. All right, then we're fine.
Yeah. He also mentioned that Luke Smith, was his exact wording. Christopher Barrett will be heading the project, and Luke Smith will be involved in a big way. I don't know what that means, but
he's gonna be in charge of Eververse.
They're making him in charge of the community again. He's the community manager again because he sucks so bad with Forsaken.
Oh my god. Sidebar, Michael says the drawing board is actually just them writing a date for when they'll bring it back to be the exact same experience.
You didn't like it this time. Maybe you'll like it in 6 months.
Oh my god. So design philosophy for this, though, he said that the game design is going to be that Destiny 3 will be a hardcore RPG heavy game. That sounds exciting. I hope that plays through in execution. And just a couple other things we'll go through here to throw it all in, then we can discuss. It's going to feature apparently an open world PvEVP mode, so I guess like out in the patrol areas you'll be able to fight other Guardians, which is an interesting concept. I like that. Yeah. And I think there's some sort of lore reason they're going to include that you're able to do that. It's going to feature Europa, which was included in the original Destiny concept art. If you haven't seen that concept art, you should look it up because it looks like a really cool environment. I'm excited to see that. And then here's what I wanted to bring up is we've talked about Destiny 3 as a concept for a while, and we've all like kind of agreed that we want to see this game continue to expand and the universe continue to expand and them continue to improve it, rather than a reboot where we have to go through the same growing pains again. And
I was not on the same page with that. I don't remember agreeing with that sentiment.
You want the game to start over and have the same problems we had in Destiny 2?
Oh! I thought we were talking about like character wipes. No. I agree. I want to keep expanding on this philosophy, but I do not want to have a WoW experience where I'm just like loading into like a new season of content with the same character, still having. I don't want my stuff. I want a clean slate. I thought that's what you were talking about.
Well, I mean, that is what I'm talking about. I think that most people feel that the choice to restart all of that stuff in Destiny 2 ended up being a huge mistake. And ultimately pointless too, because I kind of got on board with the idea in Destiny 1 when they said it was going to be a reboot, because I said, you know, things in Destiny 1 weren't really that hard, so it's not a big deal that they're resetting it, and hopefully it'll be a deeper experience, and that'll be worth the reset. But it ended up being a more shallow experience, so it really wasn't worth the reset. And I think it
but
makes...
Destiny 3 doesn't have that problem though.
Yeah, well, but the problem with it is, though, at some point I do want it to be a permanent thing, because I want to be invested in my character. I want to actually care about it, not just say, well, in 3 years they're just gonna make a new game anyway. We're gonna throw all this crap out. Like,
yeah, I agree, but don't you want, when that happens, don't you want that permanent experience to happen after Destiny fully forms into an MMO?
yeah.
Like once it's done being like an FPS and like is fully realized as an MMO, like isn't that the point?
Yes, yeah, but I just don't really have... I don't know whether I trust them to actually do that. It kind of seems like they're gonna stick to this cycle no matter what. I don't know if it's part of the contract or what. But I do hope what you're saying is true. If they do reboot it for Destiny 3, then I hope that that's kind of it, and that they're like, this is the final experience we want for the game.
Yeah.
But they have to be super sure about that they're not going to bring anything back from Destiny 1 at that point. If they're going to do a reboot, they have to do...
they're going to. And that's the other thing that's going to annoy me, Huffy, is like, we're going to lose the last word again, and it'll come back in like 2 more years. Like,
I mean, it does make... I mean, from even just like a story perspective, like, you know, like there's like this loose, like, kind of like feeling that like you were the same Guardian in Destiny 2 that you were in D1, but especially if, like, you know, I guess you kind of got around it with the tower being destroyed and like our vaults being lost, but like in Destiny 3, like if it is like another reboot, you know, and we're different Guardians, which hopefully we are, because like I would like new character customization, please.
Well, I didn't put it in here, but one of the things that they mentioned about that was that Guardians will be able to harness the darkness rather than just light. So that's a big change. Hey guys, the darkness isn't out anymore. You know, remember when Luke Smith was like, yeah, we got rid of the concept of the darkness. It doesn't exist. Like, I guess it's back in. Darkness is back in for Destiny 3.
it is in Destiny 2 in the lore tabs and things like that. If you track it on some of the lore tabs, you can see that what is it, the Vex call it, the dark, or the below, or the they each of the different factions have a different name for it. But like our faction, our human faction, they call it the darkness. And like the Fallen and the Cabal, they all call it something else.
Yeah. Baga asks a good question. He said, do you think that they did the reboot originally because they were adding the PC release to the mix? And I honestly don't think that's the reason. I think the reason that they rebooted the game was, number one, it was a part of the original plan, and number two, they wanted to revise some of those original critical reviews of Destiny where they were getting like 6.5s out of 10 on IGN and stuff like that. They wanted to improve that stuff.
Well, they were kind of getting the same thing on Destiny 1, right? Destiny 2, I mean.
No,
Destiny
unfortunately,
2's reviews were pretty critical in the first year.
Well,
no,
yeah,
I mean, like in the first, you're right.
Yeah, So like
Destiny
what
2
happened
vanilla.
unfortunately with Destiny 2 was the launch reviews were really, really good. IGN and all the other outlets that played it for 5 hours and reviewed it said this game is amazing.
Maybe
and
the
then,
campaign, and it's like, hey, you know, this game's only about 20 hours.
right, it wasn't
There's
until
so much more.
a month in that everyone started to say, this is not Destiny, you know.
Yeah.
With regards to the character wipe, is or isn't happening, we don't know, right? But
I'm gonna say yes.
I would say this: there is something to be said for somebody seeing something the same and seeing it in a refreshed way, but then like seeing all of their so like if they could do in Destiny 3, if they could do every exotic from Destiny 1, every exotic from Destiny 2, and then more exotics from Destiny 3 for Destiny 3, if they could do that all at launch, then it doesn't matter what they do. Because I take the example of Super Smash Brothers, right? All up until now, like now it's kind of like trending that every single like the new Smash Brothers, every single character from every single Smash Brothers is in there, and then additions are being made as well. So it's the most comprehensive list of any character that they've ever had in a game. And I'd say if you apply that same logic to Destiny, the things that we have to play with that are kind of like characters, not our guardians themselves.
So you're saying don't launch unfinished. Make sure all of the features we have now and some are in the game.
I would say that, and make sure every exotic, 100% of the exotics from Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 are in there, and they play well together.
That's not going to happen. There's no way that they're going to put all of the exotics back in the game. I'm sure that they're going to intentionally want to take some out, as a matter of fact. And then the problem is we get into this cycle where people get nostalgic about it and then they want it back, and then Bungie has to bring it back. It just feels like we're never going to break that loop, unfortunately.
That would be what they have to do to break that loop, though.
I don't think they're going to release all of the exotics like that. I mean, maybe, but
I think they'll keep some. You know, just like this time, they kept some. You know, and they just kept like the ones that like people couldn't live without. I'm surprised like the no backup plans don't exist.
I think there's just a lot of like the negative attention that the game gets is because they remove content and then they bring it out later on down the road, and we don't have a problem with that because we understand their intentions behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But someone that's looking at this from a price to performance point of view is going to look at it like, well, if I had something in Destiny 1 and I really liked it, why can't I have it in Destiny 2? And then when it comes out in Destiny 2, it's like, well, I have it in Destiny 2 now. And then are we going to go through the same growing pains that we did with Destiny 3? The answer is no. Then, and it needs to be no. Then what changes are they planning to make to all of that? So like, I see kind of like if our characters are going to be wiped, then that would be okay, right?
I want to make one point about that I think is super important. The biggest reason I think that for sure they're going to wipe this slate clean again is because PlayStation is targeting a release for their next console as early as next year, and then I'm sure Xbox will be probably the year after that. So either 2019 or 2020, these new consoles are going to be coming out. I'm sure Destiny 3 is being designed around the concept of those consoles. The only thing I pray for is that if this is the reason we're doing this reboot, then please, please, please do not make it available on the old consoles at all. That screwed up Destiny 1 so bad that they made it available on 360 and PlayStation 3. And it will hinder the performance and the development of the game. So if you're going to do a rebuild, and I hope that they just rebuild the engine and make it for these new consoles and everything's 60 FPS and it's much better, then that's worth a refresh.
When the 10-year contract with Activision is up?
It should be 2024.
Yeah, it should be right. It should be near the end of Destiny 3's lifespan.
So we could see Destiny.
No, because so if each one's 3 years, then you would still have a year after Destiny 3, depending on how if they're gonna do a refresh again. But
yeah, I think that'll be a messy year for the whole thing.
You don't think we'll see it until 2020?
The game came out in 2014. It's a 10-year contract, so 2024 would be the end of the contract with Activision. And
okay.
And also, Bungie's working on another IP right now as well. You guys know that, right?
Yeah, we talked about that. The Chinese development studio, whatever.
But they announced the name of it. Like, they Bungie trademarked a name for the game they're working on a few weeks ago. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast.
What's it called again?
I can't remember off the top.
Matter.
That's it. Yeah.
Matter.
PC.
Whatever happened to Titan? You guys remember that?
Oh, Michael makes a good point. It could be 2022, 23 because the contract started before the launch of the game. So.
Oh yeah.
So then we'd see a 3-year life cycle. Then at 2020, we'd see 2023, and then that would be the final story to be told in Destiny 3's story.
So here's the thing that I want to talk about Destiny 3, and I want to hear like what y'all's opinions are. Here's like my wet dream for Destiny 3 is that with the darkness coming into play, we literally get FPS World of Warcraft. It's what I've been dreaming about since Destiny comes out. You have like Guardians that align with the darkness, Guardians that align with like the light. Like the Travelers' like intentions are now skewed, and you have like Guardians fighting against each other in PvE scenarios, and like you get this MMO experience where your character persists and like leveling in gear like matters, and like pursuits are only limited by the amount of space, Like,
how much do you want the choice to actually be permanent, though? If you decide to play with the darkness, do you want it to be a permanent choice?
Permanent.
Okay, so Horde versus Alliance.
Right.
Horde versus Alliance. That's my wet dream.
I share the same vision. I think that I want to see it be a legit MMO. But the only thing that I worry about is that it's not really a possible vision, because if this is going to be a console game forever, it's not ever going to be just a PC game. So they're going to be tied to that hardware, and eventually they're going to have to say we have to go with the new console. And it's hard to move along like that.
Hardware though, with Sony and Microsoft in this past Xbox One and PlayStation cycle, we had a refresh of the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro. So halfway through the cycle, they were able to refresh it. Number one. Number two, the bigger thing I think is that with I forgot what I was going to say. I was going to mention something about PC, but I actually forgot what I was going to say.
Okay. But yeah, you're right. There can be refreshes, and then they could do a thing like they did with Destiny 1, where if they do decide that this is the only way I can see it working out, is if they decide to say Destiny 3 is the future, we're going to keep this game and expand on this game like World of Warcraft, then the idea has to be eventually that, hey, this next expansion, I'm sorry, but you're going to need the PlayStation 6. You can't keep progressing in this game unless you upgrade your hardware. Because that's what they did. Eventually they said, sorry guys on the 360 and PS3, but...
Well, the engine's pretty well... Like imagining the engine for Destiny 3 should be way better. And
if they come out and say 30 FPS, no dedicated servers, then I think people are going to march down there and camp outside their studio.
About that. With Sony and Microsoft embracing
crossplay,
peripheral technology and crossplay. Yeah. Well, crossplay is one side of it, but then peripheral technology is another. So it's been a long time since we've heard them talk about, will we support keyboard and mouse? I think with PlayStation and Xbox both supporting, and PC both supporting, keyboard and mouse, that you won't see this game like the mindset of this game won't be so much is it a console game, because it'll be like, well, it is, but you should play with the, because competitive players still play with controller on PC.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
I think by the way, the earnings call that we talked about where Activision talked about crossplay for Destiny a few weeks ago, because of this leak, if the legitimacy of this leak, I almost feel like they were probably talking about this future Destiny title and not Destiny 2. Like, as much as I want to see crossplay in Destiny 2 for the health of the game, I feel like with this announcement, that would be a tough undergoing if they're working on a brand new title.
Yeah.
Actually,
Well,
two new titles because
imagine
of the
if,
other one as
yeah.
well.
If the infrastructure is getting in place right now,
I hope
right,
it is.
I hope it is.
for the dedicated servers, and we see something like dedicated servers hit when we see the expansion 2 for Destiny 2 year 3.
Oh, you think they're gonna add dedicated servers to Destiny 2?
No, I think the infrastructure is going to be putting it, like they're going to put the infrastructure in place, and then it's going to be a year from there that we're going to see Destiny 3. I think it's going to look better on a box of Destiny 3 than it will for an expansion for a game that you didn't buy.
Do you guys think they should call it Destiny 3?
It depends. If they are able to like truly start like moving towards this like MMO experience, like if Destiny 3 is the experience that is going to persist forever, like if it is the like wet dream that we have about like a true MMO, then it should be called something different. Right.
Okay.
But if it is another iteration of like the same thing that we've been experiencing, then I think it should be Destiny 3.
I'm gonna limit you to only one more use of the word wet dream. I think you're going above the quota.
I think they need to come up with a different. I think they need to come up with a different terminology. Like I don't like the terminology like killing logic, sword logic. When you get deep into the lore, you deal with things like the sword logic, the death logic, and it's like it needs to not be called that. They need to actually sit down and figure out what they should. And it should be easy to understand, like Horde and Alliance, or so like they wouldn't have to call it Destiny 3. They could just call it Destiny Sword and or like Darkness and Light or something like that. Because then they can expand on that for years to come, like World of Warcraft. So instead of getting Destiny 3 expansions or Destiny 4, we get expansions onto Destiny 3, and then it's just a continuing cycle from there. Because at that point, by the time Destiny 3 year 3 is done, it will be out of the hands of Activision, and Bungie will be able to do what they want to do with it, which means they probably won't want to update the engine as much as we think it should be updated, or like on the 3 yearly releases that they've been doing.
Definitely speculation on that part.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's a good discussion about that stuff. We don't really have any more information. Hopefully we hear more as we get closer.
And on the 9, you should be our 4th guest for GuardianCast.
Yeah, that would be amazing. You can use like a voice attenuator so that you have like that really deep voice, and we'll make you like a silhouette of like that would be awesome.
So Anon, you're officially
invited. Yeah, reach out to us. I want to talk about this podcast and things we do know. There's some things in the works. We have a couple guests lined up to come on within the next few weeks. For now, I can announce Rebase is going to be here. Rebase is coming on. Let me just double check the date. Next week, the 9th, and then I'm talking to a few other people who said that they are interested. We just have to drill down which exact day they're going to be coming on.
Nice.
Some other things. We're going to be working on a dedicated website for GuardianCast, a central hub where you can find everything. So that's going to be in the works. I don't know exactly how we're going to design it or anything like that yet, but keep an eye out for it.
On like a Twitch thing, or are we going to do
like an actual like domain name that we'll have?
would we be doing because we do it live on Twitch as well? Would we be doing it
On a dedicated channel, you mean?
Yeah.
We can talk about that. I don't know. I mean, I think it would be harder to get people to follow new channels, but we'll see. We'll see what is best. But I think that the website will be a good addition.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna work on getting some better detailed descriptions of each podcast episode if you're interested in the text, and hopefully that'll go into search parameters and things like that. So that's all stuff that's coming.
Every week that we have a guest, we should like get a picture of them and get GuardianCast episode 37 this Friday.
Yeah.
Feature.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Late. I mean, rebase.
Huffy's late. Huffy eats live on camera.
Vote for what you'd like to see Huffy eat on this episode of GuardianCast.
Yeah. And one of these days we got to get Reese to come on here. I don't know what the hold up with that is.
We'll do a Guardian. That is the other announcement that was made, and I don't know if you guys are following GuardianCon.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about that.
GuardianCon announced that it was going to be in Orlando next year.
Yes.
On July
during 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, July 4th weekend, the day after Independence Day.
It's the 5th and 6th. Yeah.
5th and 6th. It's going to be incredible.
So we're gonna go ride some roller coasters.
So Huffy and I are definitely going, right? We're definitely going this year. Are you definitely going?
100%.
All right, so we are going to be doing something pretty cool, EXO, if you want to be a part of it. We are going to be renting a huge house through Airbnb. I don't know if you're planning on traveling alone or with your family or anything, but if you're interested in being a part of that, let me know.
Are you traveling with family as well, or?
No, it's gonna be just me. My wife might come. It really depends if I can convince her or not. But,
yeah, it'll depend on who's actually coming with me and who needs to might have somebody that has to come with me, but
okay. But I'm super excited for GuardianCon this year. I'm gonna be going all out. It should be a great time, and it's in Orlando, so that's nice.
Yeah. The big change between Orlando and Tampa. It is what I've been seeing on Twitter is a lot of the impact of the flight down because Orlando International Airport is in the middle of the state and there's so much tourism in Orlando that the prices are so much cheaper to fly down to Orlando.
Probably not on 4th of July weekend, but we'll see.
Maybe not on 4th of July weekend, but people are flying out on 4th of July weekend.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people go to the major parks down in that area for that. I mean, that weekend is a really big weekend too. But yeah, so I think that it'll be a huge cost reduction to fly to Tampa, because Tampa is another skip and a jump.
Yeah.
Oh, Huffy, you weren't done last week. Do you want to announce Destiny Sherpas formally now, or?
Oh yeah, DestinySherpas.org.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about it other than if you're looking for PvE, PvP recos, Pinnacle Crucible rewards, or Crucible lessons, stop over at DestinySherpas.org, where our team of highly trained Sherpas will help you to achieve your Destiny dreams. Do you have a full-time job? Do you not have 300 hours to invest in the Not Forgotten? We got you. Our team of highly trained PvP Sherpas will get in ComScore for you.
I don't know what to say except this really long ad that I rehearsed, but but that's all I have for this week, guys. It's been a great episode.
DestinySherpas.org.
5 easy payments of $19.99.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah, is there a sale on Not Forgotten this week?
There is a sale on Not Forgotten right now.
There you go. Get on there, get it while it's hot, guys. So this has been episode 36, guys. I'm Recked. See you next week.
Peace, y'all.